I use the word awesome, which is probably going to be the last time I use the word awesome. I'll probably pick another word. But I use that name because the people that I bring to the table or that are on the set with me are awesome people. They do a lot for the communities. They really are authentic, a word that I just heard just not too long ago. And they do a lot of things to ensure that our kids are getting the very best, every kid. So today I am blessed to have Sean Boye, the Executive Director for the Children's Services Council. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
This is
Keep using that word awesome. I'm good with that.
You're awesome, dude. Well, you know, Sean, I've been knowing you for a few years.
Right.
I wish I would have known you a lot longer, but I think over the last couple of years we've built a pretty strong relationship.
Absolutely,
You know,
absolutely.
we get to have coffee once a month, and we get to have CEO, Executive Director talk. And
Right.
figure out what's our moves, our strategies, and just kind of prepare ourselves for even just our day.
That's the beauty of coffee, right?
That's the beauty of
Creates a
coffee.
sit down, take your time, explore ideas, creativity,
Exactly.
what we can do to help the community.
What we can do to help the community. And sometimes when we're talking, it's not even about Boys and Girls Clubs. We're just talking about in general, like what's going on with our youth in St. Lucie County.
Absolutely.
I know that we're one of your funded partners, so and you get to, you know, you guys as a committee, as an organization, as a board, you guys get to pick who are those organizations that you will fund.
Right.
And so, you know, I got to ask the question: why do you fund Boys and Girls Clubs?
Oh, you put me on the spot.
I put you on the spot.
Well, you know, at the Children's Services Council, you know, it's not our money, it's not
That's right.
my team's money, it's not our board money, it's the community's money.
Exactly.
And so we look to what can we invest in, spend the community's money to have the greatest impact.
That's right.
And our biggest category, we have 5 categories. Our biggest category is keeping kids off the streets, meaning that's the most where we allocate most of our money. And the largest entity that we fund in that category is, in fact, the Boys and Girls Club.
Yes.
And we do that because if you look at when kids are out of school, when the school bell rings, whether it be 2, 3, or 4 o'clock, where are they going? You know, is it somewhere positive where they're, you know, working on their academics and pro-social involvement, or are they hanging at home, playing the Xbox and trying to, you know, think of something to do that may or may not always be positive.
Right.
So our category, keeping kids off the streets, we have, you know, common outcomes that all of our programs have to achieve, which is improving the academics, making sure kids don't get in trouble, making sure they attend school and attend the program. And the Boys and Girls Club is our largest in that category because, quite frankly, you're everywhere. Everywhere we want to have an after-school presence, where we want to make sure that kids have somewhere safe to go, there is a Boys and Girls Club location. Everywhere we want to have an after-school presence, where we want to make sure that kids have somewhere safe to go, there is a Boys and Girls Club location. And I think the greatest strength, and you and I have had this conversation many times, you know, at the Children's Services Council, we get calls from parents, and they'll be like, you know, I have 3 kids and I want my child to enroll in an after-school program. And if you have 3 kids and you're making $40,000 a year, if you're paying $50, $60, $80 a week for an after-school program, you know, for 3 kids, that's, you know, 3 times 80 is 240 times 4 weeks a month.
That's right.
That's not, families can't attain that.
That's right.
But at the Boys and Girls Club, you offer a safe, community-friendly, awesome team and affordable place for kids to go.
Man, that was like, you didn't even take a breath on any of that. So I know that.
I'm passionate about this stuff. I'm passionate about this stuff.
Well, and you know, I think that's why I enjoy having coffee with you, because we get to talk about, you know, looking at, like, we're real about it. Like, a parent cannot afford $80 a week to send their kids to a safe environment. And one of the things that we're looking for as an organization, meaning Boys and Girls Clubs, is how can we offer more?
Right.
And with the staff that we have, like, how can we make sure that homework is done? You know, because of Children's Services Council and the citizens that actually fund that, we're able to have dedicated teachers at our club locations.
Right.
We're able to have professionals that can not only be a good role model, but also have the educational background to provide to those kids.
And when you look at a successful after-school program like the Boys and Girls Club, you can have an academics guru in there, right? But really what's going to make the difference, what's going to make that child succeed is the adult connection that they have.
That's right.
Because for some kids, whether we want to admit this or not as a community, we have some kids that go home to maybe a single parent who maybe is working. And so your staff, your team that connects with those kids, you're just increasing exponentially their chances for success.
Well, when we look at, over the last few years, we've been looking at our own model here in St. Lucie County. And when we look at our model, we look at not only the academic side of it, but all the kids that have been through trauma.
Oh, yeah.
And man, we could have a conversation. You remember Alicia?
Yeah.
She was our Youth of the Year 2 years in a row. She really pushed on it. That was something that was important to her. And you and I have had many, many conversations about it, and lots of conversations going on throughout the community.
And we acted upon that.
And we acted upon it. And we just seen it recently, and we talked about it. It was like, it was your passion, this young person's passion, 16 years old, says, look, I'm having mental health issues. I'm not crazy, but I'm having issues because I've been through these 7 traumas.
Right.
How can you help?
Right.
I don't necessarily need to work on my homework because I'm pretty smart, but I need a caring adult to walk me through this. And so it's been a pleasure just kind of walking you and introducing you to her and just watching the community embrace that.
Well, and I think, first of all, this TV show or YouTube show, whatever it's called, is phenomenal because it's great to see not only, what you do, but all your partners, because it does, it's not just Will and Sean developing after school programs, it involves the entire community, right?
Exactly.
And so I just wanted to make this point, and I'll relay it back to Alicia, is that you serve, 3,000 kids a year?
We serve 8,000 kids a year, but we serve 2,000 kids across St. Lucie County every single day.
So 2,000 kids, that's 2,000 stories.
Yeah.
2,000 stories about success and overcoming obstacles. And we as a community, need to celebrate those successes.
That's right.
But we also need to listen to those stories.
That's right.
Because going back to Alicia, it was Alicia that told us, through her passion, that there's need for mental health and there are kids that have gone through trauma and they need assistance. And by us as a community listening to our young people, we're starting to address that.
It's amazing. I tell you, there's several grants out now that across all spectrums that are wanting to address that very need, and that's trauma. Here's another thing that we've been blessed in this organization to do is we feed every one of our kids every night.
That's awesome.
Every kid that walks through our door, that 19 locations have the opportunity to receive a hot meal or a cold, nutritious meal every night for dinner before they go home. And we've heard some tremendous stories from parents. And some of these parents, they can afford to make dinner, but by the time they get home at 7 o'clock, 7:30, they just don't have time. And so we are a blessed organization that we get to think outside the box. We get to talk to partners like you. We get to, like you said, it's a community effort. And by that, we're able to make good decisions, good choices for our kids. But we only have a minute and a half left. And you and I could talk, but we could talk for hours.
Let's do a 2-hour marathon.
Let's just do a 2-hour. We could do a 2-hour marathon.
We won't subject you to that.
We won't do that to you. But I want you to take a couple minutes, and I think it's important for people to really know about Children's Services Council because you have different things going on, and it's not just keeping kids off street.
Right.
I want the public to know some of the other avenues that you have going on throughout Children's Services Council.
Sure. Well, for your viewers, the Children's Services Council, there's only 8 of us in the state of Florida. And we're fortunate to have one in St. Lucie. In 1990, the community voted to establish a Children's Services Council, and we use a small portion of property value tax to fund 5 priorities. And those 5 priorities are 1, making sure every baby's a healthy baby. So for example, every mother, when she gives birth in St. Lucie County, any St. Lucie County resident, they get a nurse home visit within the first week of coming home from the hospital.
That's amazing.
It's a great way to make sure that mothers and children are safe and healthy, and it's a great way to reinforce to the community that we care about our kids. Second priority is stopping child abuse before it happens. Third priority is keeping kids off the streets. The fourth priority is keeping kids in school. And the fifth priority is keeping kids off drugs, alcohol, and other risky behaviors. Now, and all of that, just similarly to how we talked about keeping kids off the streets, they all have outcomes that they have to achieve because we want to make sure there's accountability and there's actual impact. But I can say last year we reached over 50,000 children in St. Lucie County, all towards our mission, which is improving the quality of life for all children in our community.
We can go on, Sean, we can go on
Yeah,
and on.
I'm excited. Let's
We're
keep going.
excited. We can go on for 12, 15, 30 minutes, but it's always a pleasure. I'm going to have you back on because I think it's important for the community that don't know that Children's Services Council is in play and the things that Children's Services Council bring to the community.
And I will say the one thing that I would ask, and one of the biggest gaps that I see in the community, having done this for a while and interacting with people like you and everybody, is that there's still a gap in between knowledge and resources.
That's right.
So there are resources out there for parents that are struggling with parenting, for example, or after school programs or whatever it may be. But to contact a Boys and Girls Club or a Children's Services Council or 2-on-1 to make sure that you're aware of all the resources that are out there to help you. Because you really don't know or even care about what's out there to help you until you need it. And usually at that time it's a little bit of a crisis.
That's right.
So we just want to make sure that people know about the resources out there.
Well, I want to thank you for joining me today. I know there's so much more to talk about, but we're going to have to catch Sean in the next show. Thank you.